Hello Summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides video. We know that League's popularity is growing, and a lot of you guys might be rather new. Or maybe you've been playing for a while and you have some friends that you want to start playing with you. Well, regardless, look no further as we have just the thing for you. This video is the beginner's guide to League of Legends in Season 10. We know that this video isn't exactly what everyone is looking for, but we wanted to make sure that we can reach out to all players. So yes, seasoned veterans, you probably know this stuff, but hey, we were all newbies once, and I personally would have really appreciated having something like this to help me take my first baby steps. Considering the topic of this video, it's benefiting that our question of the day is how you started playing League of Legends. I personally had it introduced to me by a friend, and I've been hooked ever since. Now for all you newbies out there, don't worry. For those of you who are trying to improve, make sure that you check out ProGuides.com. I especially suggest you to check out our coaches there. They're all really helpful and will help you understand the fundamentals you need in order to find success in League. Especially since League is just so complex, it's really nice to have someone who can help you and guide you through the process. We have a lot of beginner-friendly content for every role. And with that stuff being said, let's get into the video. In my opinion, I think the best way to explain League of Legends is to first talk about the end goal. With the exception of games where the objective is to lose, you're essentially doing whatever you can to win when you play a game or a video game like League of Legends. The way that you win in League of Legends is by destroying the enemy's nexus before they break yours, or crushing their morale to the point where they forfeit the game. The primary focus of this video will be on League's primary map, Summoner's Rift, which is characterized by its 3 lanes and the jungle. We will talk a bit more about those in a bit. Each team, blue side that plays from the bottom of the map, or red side who plays from the top part of the map, has 5 players that jump onto the rift from the get-go, duking it out to secure a victory. From the very beginning, you spawn at your fountain, and 15 seconds later are allowed to roam freely through Summoner's Rift as you please. A minute later, minions spawn, and the game really gets rolling. In terms of the very basic things like what a health bar is, how you move, how to attack, and how to buy items, make sure to at least play through the League of Legends tutorial. That's not what makes the game hard, and we're sure that all of you guys can figure it out. Okay, so first up, let's talk about objectives. Ultimately, the Nexus is the most important objective in any game of League of Legends. You can make it a personal objective to do other things like disrespect and style on your opponents, but it's all for naught. If you have the last words that you see on the victory screen, you are doing the winning. If it were as simple as walking up to the Nexus and whacking it until it explodes, League honestly wouldn't be that hard or that interesting. Along the way to the Nexus, we have a couple of other objectives that are not optional to take down, such as turrets and inhibitors. In front of the Nexus, there are 2 turrets placed there to protect it, and you won't even be able to touch the Nexus unless you've taken both of those turrets and if the enemy inhibitor is destroyed. The most numerous of the objectives in League are the turrets, or more commonly referred to as the towers. On Summoner's Rift, each team has 11 turrets. And it's worth noting that you can win a game technically by destroying as few as 5 turrets, but most will require you to destroy more than that. The way that the turrets are spread out are as follows: 3 in the top lane, 3 in the mid lane, 3 in the bottom lane, and 2 in base protecting the Nexus. For each lane, the 3 turrets can be categorized as the outer turrets, the inner turrets, and the inhibitor turrets. So what are these towers? What do they do? Well, a turret is a defense structure in League that deals damage. If an enemy is stronger than you, what's stopping them from chasing you and killing you over and over again? Turrets will. Well, most of the time anyway. Turrets blast their targets, provide vision, and also see stealthed units or traps. They are a form of protection for both parties, as well as other objectives, and you'll need to destroy them to proceed. It's important to note that League is a progressive game in a sense. There's an order that you need to take certain objectives. The first turrets you need to take are the outer turrets. Once you take an outer turret, you can now attack the same lane's inner turret. After taking the inner turret, you can then attack the inhibitor turret, and so on. The way a turret works is that it can target 1 unit at a time. Whatever unit walks into range first will be a turret's primary target. Once that unit is killed, or if they walk out of range, the turret will look for another target to attack. However, the caveat is that they're designed to protect you. If an enemy champion deals damage to a player under their turret, the turret will switch its focus onto them. In cases where champions who are being attacked by turrets walk out of the attack range, the turrets will switch targets. While there is a specific order of prioritization, we're not trying to overload you with information, so we've condensed it into what is most common and most important. If multiple targets are in range, the order that a turret will naturally decide on its target is cannon or super minions, melee minions, caster minions, and then enemy champions. It's also worth noting that turrets have some special characteristics to them. During the first 5 minutes of the game, the mid and top lane turrets are equipped with fortification, which reduces the damage that they take by 50%. All outer turrets are equipped with turret plating as well for the first 14 minutes of the game. Turret plating breaks a tower's HP into 5 parts or plates. With each plate that you manage to break, you gain some bonus gold, but also trigger Bulwark, which significantly increases turrets' defenses for 20 seconds. This defense actually scales with how many champions are nearby on the enemy team, and if you take another turret plate within that 20-second duration, it'll stack and reset the timer. If you don't kill plating before the 14-minute mark, it disappears and you can no longer claim the bonus gold from the plates. While these characteristics are specific to outer turrets, there are some things that every turret has. Every turret is equipped with Ohm Wrecker, reinforced armor, and Warden's Eye. The Ohm Wrecker effect provides bonus armor penetration. It prevents enemies from dodging turret shots unless they are able to be untargetable, and also makes successive turret shots onto champions deal 40% bonus damage up to a cap of 120%. If you switch targets, the champion does not reset this bonus, but not hitting a champion for 3 seconds will. Warden's Eye simply allows you to see stealth units or traps near a turret. Reinforced armor reduces the damage by 66% whenever there are no nearby enemy minions or a Rift Herald nearby. Remember the name, the Rift Herald is one of the 3 neutral objectives, but we will talk about those in a bit. This is why minions are so important, as they will make sure you don't get absolutely crushed by turrets. And speaking of the minions, let's move on to those too. Just like in the Despicable Me movies, minions are your friends. There are 4 types of standard minions: the melee ones, caster minions, siege or cannon minions, and super minions. Melee minions are the basic ones, and they're relatively tanky but need to be next to a target to attack them. The caster minions are easier to kill, but they have a ranged attack. Siege minions have the best of both worlds. They are tanky, attack from a distance, and also deal more damage than the other 2. The downside is that they are not as numerous as the other 2. Super minions are minions that take the place of siege minions when one team has managed to destroy an inhibitor. These guys need to get close to attack, but they are much stronger and so much tankier than the other 3 minions. Especially when several of them charge forward together, they can become very overwhelming to deal with. Minions can be complicated, but we do have a video on our channel called The Only Wave Control Guide That You Will Ever Need, and that explains minion wave management a little bit more in depth. If you're an absolute newbie though and you're just starting out, you honestly shouldn't worry about this too much until later. What you do need to know is that minions are essential to 2 fundamentals of the game: farming and trading, which are all a part of what we call the laning phase. Laning is the most basic part of League of Legends, as it's something that you will do every single game. To broadly define it, it just means playing against an opponent in one of the 3 lanes, and your goal during the laning phase will depend on what your champion is and which champion you are playing against. This is where League of Legends gets hard, because you need to draw upon previous experience as well as knowledge to understand this. You really only understand this once you have some first-hand experience. What's universal though is that every matchup has 2 fundamentals that we just talked about, which is trading and farming. League of Legends is a game that involves combat, and a common form of it comes with trading. Trading literally just means dealing damage, understanding that you'll probably take some back as well. Whenever you trade with an opponent, you will either basic attack them by right-clicking or use one of your champion's abilities on them. The reason that we mention minions is that they play a direct part in this. If you use a targeted ability or basic attack an enemy champion while enemy minions are nearby, they're not having any of it. The enemy team's minions in their lane will switch their focus onto you and start chasing you down, and this is why trading isn't straightforward, and you need to pay attention to minions and, more importantly, practice. Even if you can press your Q on your opponent and deal 100 damage, it might not be worth it when 6 minions start attacking you and you take all that damage back from minions alone. At its core, you want to trade when it's favorable for you. I want you to think about it like this. If it is possible for you and your champion to deal more damage than your opponents can retaliate and give to you, it only makes sense that you would want to start a fight. Minions play a role in this too. For example, if you have more minions and both you and your opponent are equally strong, then you should win in most cases because your minions are more helpful. At that point, it just becomes simple math. Conversely, you really want to avoid fighting when your opponent has a bunch more minions than you, since that damage really adds up. Of course, with experience, you will learn when you can and cannot fight in spite of minion disadvantages, but that's really some extra homework that you'll need to do for yourself. The next fundamental concept is called farming. This one is a bit easier. Every time that you kill something, a minion, a monster, enemy champions, wards, or a pet, you get gold. Thankfully, that's not how it works in real life, otherwise we'd be in a lot of trouble. Gold is essential to the game as it directly impacts how strong your champion is going to become. Laning is a time where you also need to focus on killing minions so that you can get more gold in your pocket. You need to know that you only get gold if you deal the finishing blow, which is referred to in many ways as last hitting, farming, or even CSing. CS stands for creep score, by the way, which is an indicator of how many minions that you've killed. So let's say you're in a situation where you can't kill your opponent. That does not mean that you can't make a good play or do something well, because a good indicator of if you're outperforming your opponent is if you're keeping tabs on the creep score. If you farm more effectively than your opponent, it is generally going to mean that you are ahead of them. Of course, in losing matchups, it's only natural to be a bit behind, but again, that's going to be stuff that you'll figure out for yourself based on who you play. The jungle is the dark, mysterious, and scary part of Summoner's Rift that encompasses the space in between each lane. It's separated simply into two halves by the river, and more complexly as 4 quadrants. Each team has their own side of the jungle, but that side is separated into 2 halves, leaving those 4 quadrants: blue team topside, blue team bot side, red team topside, and red team bot side. Each half of the jungle split between the 2 teams has 6 unique monsters: Gromp, the Blue Sentinel, often referred to as the Blue Buff, Merkwolves, Raptors, Red Brambleback, often referred to as Red Buff, and the Krugs. In the river, which is neutral and splits the map down the middle, you can find Scuttle Crab, which is another jungle monster that doesn't fight back, but instead desperately tries to run away. If you slay the Scuttle Crab, it'll move towards the center of the river and create a shrine which provides vision and a movement speed buff for allied units that pass through it for 90 seconds. The 3 most significant jungle monsters don't lay on either team's side of the jungle and are somewhere closer to the center. They're often referred to as the neutral objectives: the Dragons, Rift Herald, and Baron Nashor. First up, let's talk about dragons. There are 5 kinds: 4 elemental dragons and the elder dragon. The 4 elemental dragons each provide different bonus stats. Elemental drakes spawn every 5 minutes once they've been slain, while the elder dragon will spawn 6 minutes after it's been slain. Also, the first elemental drake spawns at 5 minutes. The Infernal Dragon provides bonus attack damage as well as bonus ability power. Cloud Dragon provides bonus cooldown reduction for your ultimate. Mountain Dragon provides bonus armor and magic resistance, making you tankier and harder to kill, and the Ocean Dragon heals you for a percentage of your missing health every second. Slaying the Elder Dragon provides a special buff that allows you to deal bonus true damage over time when you hit an enemy. Additionally, dealing damage to anyone below 20% will execute them with Elder Immolation after half a second. Also, every player on the enemy team that slays it gets 250 gold alongside 100 bonus gold for the Slayer. Another thing to note is that the 3rd dragon that spawns in the game after the first 2 have been killed changes the geography of Summoner's Rift. If the 3rd dragon becomes an Infernal Dragon, it will break the walls of the dragon pit and destroy the areas near the buffs, removing some brushes and creating new pathways through them. If it is an Ocean Dragon, the Ocean Summoner's Rift is much more green with a lot more plants across the jungle and a lot more brushes. I really thought it took a little bit more than just water to grow some plants, but it's a video game after all. The Cloud Dragon creates air currents that give speed buffs in the dragon pit as well as in the jungle. And finally, the Mountain Dragon stirs things up and makes it rocky. New entrances and choke points are opened up across the map, and the dragon pit geography actually changes. When one team is able to kill 4 elemental dragons, they are granted a soul of whichever dragon they killed most. Additionally, once one team claims a soul, that's when the next dragons that spawn is an Elder Dragon. The Infernal Dragon soul makes it so every 3 seconds your next attack or damaging spell creates a small AoE explosion, AoE meaning area of effect. This will deal adaptive damage that scales with bonus attack damage, ability power, and bonus health. The Ocean Dragon Soul means that dealing damage triggers strong health and resource regeneration for 3 seconds. Damage to minions will provide less regeneration though. If you have the Cloud Dragon Soul, it will give you a burst of movement speed for 3 seconds after using your ultimate, and you will also gain passive bonus movement speed, meaning that it will happen all throughout the game no matter what. And finally, the Mountain Dragon Soul will mean that after not taking damage for 5 seconds, you will gain a shield that lasts until it's destroyed. This shield scales with your bonus attack damage, ability power, and bonus health. Rift Herald is a tanky monster that has a built-in mechanic to make her easier to kill. She has an eye that opens periodically, and if you attack her from the back while that eye is open, she takes a significant amount of damage. If you are able to slay her, you claim her as a buff that replaces your trinket. If you use your trinket, you channel Rift Herald for 1 second and she will spawn new. What a summoned Rift Herald does is it acts as an allied pet. It'll attack minions for you and then it will aim a charge at a turret. If she's able to get in range, she will ready herself and then tackle the nearest turret and deal a huge amount of damage to it. She's also targetable, which means that enemy players can attempt to kill her before she crashes into the turret. She will spawn at 8 minutes and respawns after 6 minutes. However, she becomes replaced by Baron at the 20-minute mark, so you'll need to kill her early on in the game if you want to see her twice. Aside from literally winning the game by destroying the Nexus, Baron Nashor might be the most important thing to do in League of Legends. While it is a powerful foe that often requires several members to successfully slay, the buff that it provides for you is immensely strong. It provides Hand of Baron, which provides bonus attack damage, bonus ability power, and a reduced recall timer, and then increases the strength of nearby minions. It initially spawns at 20 minutes and then respawns every 6 minutes after that. Aside from the insane bonuses that Baron provides for you, it's also worth noting that it awards 300 gold to every member of your team when slain. That's basically 5 kills worth of gold for killing it. If you're starting at League this point, we know that it's really hard and confusing. One thing that you do have going for you though is that the game has evolved to a point where people generally have come to understand what is the most effective way of playing it. What League has branched out to now is a game where there are 5 different roles that each player on a team will fulfill. The roles are as follows: top lane, jungle, mid lane, bottom lane, and support. When we talked about turret fortification earlier, you might have noticed that we never said that bottom lane turret gets it. As a result of this, most games will have teams place their bottom laner alongside a support there, as 2 champions have better odds of taking advantage of this vulnerability than one. Each role is typically going to lead towards a few different types of characters, but you can definitely find them anywhere. For example, the mid lane and jungle is where you find most of the assassin champions, but there is one, Pyke, who is technically an assassin support champion. To generalize though, top lane has a lot of frontline tanky champions and juggernauts alongside some kinds of carry champions, typically though they are going to be melee. Jungle has a lot of variety with tanks, assassins, carries, and sometimes even some utility champions. Mid lane is typically where most of the spellcasters will go, alongside assassins and utility-based champions. The bottom lane carry position is almost exclusively reserved for marksmen or ranged carry champions that build attack damage. However, it does have some room for spellcasters or melee champions. They're just not as ubiquitous as the marksman. The support role is a diverse role as it is, and it's dominated by champions who provide utility and help out their teammates. However, the way they go about this is different for each one, as some of them are keeping their teammates safe, while others lead the charge and engage fights, and some do both. Once again though, there are outliers in every role, so don't worry about it too much and just try to find champions that you like playing. While some champions do have an optimal role, that doesn't mean that sometimes they don't switch up what role is played. If you have a general idea of which role that you want to play, we do have some macro guides for every single role on our channel. Now, touching the surface of playing your specific champion, let's talk a little bit about the items of the game. So with all that gold that you earn, you need to spend it on something. You can buy a variety of items from the item shop, but that will depend completely on who you play and also the state of the game. However, if you are a beginner, I would just recommend maybe sticking with the recommended items. You don't need to worry about it too much, they are mostly correct. On our videos, as well as various other sources on the internet, you can still find optimal builds for specific champions, so make sure to seek out those resources because the build path, meaning which order that you buy the items in, is also really important. For more specifics on general itemization, you can check out the only itemization guide you'll ever need on our channel, but once again, you don't need to think too hard about it for now and can worry about some of that stuff later. Nevertheless, that's a lot of information for you guys, but don't fret. I know that it's a lot to digest, so it's really not something that you should expect yourself to completely grasp in one day. Keep working at it and learn things day by day, and you'll be in a good enough spot very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Like we said before, don't forget to check out ProGuides.com to help you take your game to the next level. We wish you all the best of luck on Summoner's Rift, and for you newbies out there, we're honestly happy to know that you'll be joining us. So see you all next time.